Ladies and gentlemen, it is the month of May, and that means one thing. We have to head ourselves back home again to Indiana, to the racetrack that hosts the greatest spectacle of racing, and tonight it will host a round of the Kia Cup as Racebot Primetime kicks into gear for another week of action here on Racebot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. We are at the corner of 16th Street and Georgetown, and our coverage will start after these messages. Ladies and gentlemen, when you come yourself to the month of May, there's one track that you have to talk about, and it is this. It is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Hosted its first race in 1909, hosted the first Indianapolis 500 a couple of years later. And in 10 days' time, here on Racebot TV and on iRacing Live, we will crown another iRacing Indy 500 champion, adding a name to one of the most prestigious lists in all the sim racing. Justin Dassault set the tone in 2010, and since then it has been a who's who of sim racing. But before we get ourselves to IndyCar racing, which will be our focus over the next couple of weekends, we start with the Kias. One of the hottest properties on iRacing right now. Head to yourself then to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we are live. You are looking live here at the famous pagoda down at the centre of the front straightaway. Welcome to Wednesday Night Kias here on Racebot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. Will Vincent, Johnny Simone. Johnny, the gang is back together.
Yeah, we're back. It's good to be here on a Wednesday night, and we're going to watch some great Kia action as usual. There's a lot of great names in this field here today, so some good returns from last week, and a huge grid, don't forget, only one split this week. We're going to have some great racing throughout the field.
The track conditions today, well, they're interesting. 78 degrees Fahrenheit, we're used to that. 55% race relative humidity, yeah, we're used to that. 23 km/h winds though, that one is crazy. And that will be a factor over the course of this broadcast. Well, we are back home again in Indiana, and ladies and gentlemen, that means one thing. It means we need to crack out Mr. Jim Neighbours.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning bright sycamores for me. The new mown hay sends all its fragrance through the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana home.
You know what, Johnny? It's a weird one. I've got myself
Yeah.
11 days into the month of May before I've actually commentated a race here at Indy. So it's always a weird experience when we get to May because, of course, if you're a Formula One fan, it's a return to Europe. And then, of course, the Monaco Grand Prix Memorial Day weekend. For IndyCar, it's obviously the road race at Indy these days, then qualifying, then the 500. Of course, if you're a NASCAR fan, you head yourself to the yellow bricked wall of Charlotte Motor Speedway. But in the interim, there's so much fun to be had across all of our series, and there's going to be so much great racing over the next couple of weeks. And really, the Kias is one place where we love seeing that more than anything else.
Yeah, the greatest month of motorsport, in my opinion, throughout the year, and it's so busy too. You've got June as well with a lot more events, but we are obviously talking about May. And you know, you got the Monaco GP, an iconic event, Indianapolis too, and many more. It's just, you know, one of those months where you've warmed up to it. The season starts around February, March for most series, and then you head into this month where now you're really just starting to kick yourself into the season. So it's that time of year. We're all ready for it, and we're all used to it too as motor racing fans.
Well, then Benjamin Gregory is going to cross the start-finish line. This is going to be his third lap, so this won't count at all for him. Qualifying is over. Here's a look at your starting grid then for tonight's event. And hey, guess what? Cieplewski back where he belongs at the front of the field. Shellback alongside him, front row of the grid. Did you expect anything else? It's David Baker, then Daniel Hunt. They are row number 2 here today. We probably expected that one a little bit as well. Behind, Tremensky and Ross Balfour. Balfour, good qualifying by him in P6. Then Benjamin Haxon and Daniel Kraft in P7 and P8 respectively. Expect Kraft to maybe work himself through the field like he often does in this series. Connor Cuniff in P9, Ron Verke in P10. Rest of the grid coming up on your screen. In-race supporter, Mr. Paul Smith. How's it going, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad. Track conditions a little bit warm for these tyres, so we're going to be watching out for the tyre wear on the front tyres, so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, should have done better than 18th place, to be honest, but never mind, we've got the race to go.
Turn 1, always hard. Very quickly, how hard will it be?
Well, I've done a couple of races here before. You just got to take it easy, work with everyone, hope that nobody hits you from behind.
Well, good luck. We'll talk to you hopefully a little bit later on in the race. Our in-race supporter starting down on the pack here today. That is Paul Smith. And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, if you'd like to keep in contact with us, you can do so. /RaceBot TV on Facebook, at RaceBot TV on Twitter. It is glad to be back with you, ladies and gentlemen. I know I've been away for a couple of weeks, and I know that it's been a hard time, you know, streaming races without the ability to commentate, but thank you so much for all the outpouring of support you lovely fans have shown me. We are waiting then for another round of Wednesday night Kias to get themselves into the books, and there is the guy at the front of your field. It's the number 1 Alpha Tech Machine of Steven Cieplewski. Michael Shellback along the front of the grid with him. Those lights are on top of the gantry. Let's get Wednesday night. Let's get prime time on the road. Lights are on. Lights are off. We are racing now here at Indianapolis as the cars will come down towards turn number 1. P2 slow getting away, but hey, they're going to be alright as they head themselves down in towards turn number 1 for the first time. 3 wide, repeat, 3, 4, 5 in your pack. Will they all make it through? Well, the answer to that question is they almost go 4 wide for a moment. Now they funnel it down and touch a very tight corner. They are 3 wide down your pack, and somehow, just somehow, Johnny, they all make it through turn number 1 without real incident.
Yeah, good aggressive starts. Baker's dropped a position. Balfour just didn't get away off the line. You saw him bogged down. So now as they head through the first few corners, it is Cieplewski who still leads. But yeah, Baker needs to make up that position quickly because he does not want to lose any more ground to Cieplewski and Shellback.
Yeah, down your pack. You have got yourselves a little bit too wide racing right now. This is the number 25 and the number 9 machine. That is Matthew Bond with Jay Adji. And there is a little bit of movement behind him as well. Andrew Citizens with Robert Pascari. Now, if I'm correct, the number 22 machine started towards the very rear of the field. So this is a good start by him, but out front, well, that number 1 machine making good ground right now. 9/10 of a second, 1 second, and this is important. You need to get this gap heading out of this corner because now, Johnny, you're flat out. About 30 seconds in this car.
Yeah, and it's critically important, as you said, use all the curb on the outside, do not touch the grass. Pasquero, you mentioned, had a great start, but he butchered that little complex towards the final corner. Now he's under attack from Silsons. Lots of battles as we cross the line to end the first lap. 23 minutes remaining.
Yep, so lap number 1 is scored complete and in the book. So we've got that one done. We'll get the top 8 down at the bottom of your screen so you know exactly where your favourite driver is. Shapleski leads then by about a second. But then behind you've got yourself the pack forming. We often talk about attack versus defence. We're on board right now with the driver of Daniel Hunt. He runs himself in P number 5, hunting down David Baker. Battle for that 4th and 5th position on track behind. Why, he's still got some more battles going on. This is Robert Graham right now, who's right behind a fantastic start with Ross Balfour and Jay Adji. They go at it once again. Having a look from our aerial coverage here, brought to you by the charity Shelter. As number 9, number 4 machine, they get at it ahead of them as well. Look at this, Colin Conniff, Roy Verke, and also Steve Hefford. This is mighty, mighty close.
Yeah, and Balfour was almost turned around too, but we look at this right now as Verke side by side with that Steve Hefford right there in front in P10. Paul Smith behind too. So close between these guys as they pass through the little chicane. There used to be 2 hairpins. They've modified that throughout the years. Verke is going to try and get a great run out of here and set up Hefford across the straight. They all seem to be forming up at this stage of the race. But yeah, Balfour, after that poor start, he started 6th on the grid. He's now down in 14. He's just struggling in the mid-pack. This is why you don't want to be here at the start of races when drivers are really feisty to make their way up through the field.
Well, here's an interesting one. Your race leader, fastest lap of the day so far. The first driver to really break over 100 miles an hour. 100.98 miles an hour then for that driver of Stephen Shapleski. And that's important because that gap is now 1.2 seconds. And you're at the point now at 1.2 seconds that you start to break the draft to Michael Shellback. So now Shellback won't get the advantage of that air down the front straight away, pulling him towards the race leader, and now he's going to have to start playing defense towards Alexander Shimensky, because of course now Shimensky will have the advantage in a straight line down that long front straightaway.
Yeah, exactly, and so that's a critical point. As oh man, I'm watching these guys here again from P10 to P14, and as Balfour is making his way back up through the field, attacking Matt Bunn here. Oh man, it's so close, Will. You don't know whether these guys are under control, whether they're being overly aggressive, and it's one of those hairy situations you can't gamble on as they still form up. And once again, we head to that corner we spoke about, getting the long run across the main straight.
Yeah, and there you can see there, you've got a proper train of drivers heading themselves now down towards the start-finish line. Let's have ourselves a look from the rear of Ross Balfour, and this is just how fast these guys are going right about now as they head themselves down towards the final corner, down towards the start-finish line. And Daniel Hunt that last time by, fast up today, 100.99 miles an hour. Ross Balfour then crossing the start-finish line at 164 miles an hour. The only issue is though, Johnny, once you're in that train, it can be hard to move yourself past drivers, but we saw a bit of a pass there at the front of this one. This is between Conniff and Verke. These two drivers still pretty much nose to tails. Colin Conniff are going to go on board with him then as he runs himself in that 10th position.
Yeah, he's trying to set up Hefford for P9 here, but if you can make any pass easily if it's calculated. If you can be one step ahead of all the movements the driver in front makes, you should be able to make that pass soon enough. Sometimes dirty air comes into play, but it's not really a factor here in the Kia Cup cars. Back at the final corner, Paul Smith and was Cesare Rizzo, who's now off the racetrack. They had huge contact, and now Rizzo, who's lost a lot of positions here, he's had a minor spin off the grass too, so having a very, very feisty race as drivers. Here's Whitehead fighting with Van Gool side by side through this part of the racetrack.
Yeah, we're having a look at this fantastic battle. That Whitehead then is going to lose himself a position. The car's gone off there. And that one, well, we talked about him already. There you can see the number 30 machine of Cesare Rizzo. And that's the third incident he has had today in this motor race. Baker versus Semensky. This one is mighty close then. Down in towards turn and one. We're on board there for a moment with David Baker. He'll take himself the outside line in towards one. Now, if you can hold the outside line into this corner, you get yourself a nice run on the inside into two. That's really where you make the advantage. Side by side behind. That's Hunt versus Semensky there. And well, what a pass by David Baker. He is now up into third place in this event. And that is exactly what these Kias are all about, Johnny. They just know how to run too wide here. And well, I'll tell you one thing. There's some great battles going on up and down your field right now. Baker, Semensky and Hunt. That one is far from over.
Yeah, the best guy in this battle right now, in my opinion, is Daniel Hunt. The bravery from him, trying to stick it up the inside, the outside, trying to look for the gaps to make his move up through the field. It's just incredible right now. He's still stuck behind Smolensky, though, who ideally parked his car on the apex. Nothing wrong, just smart defending there. So Daniel Hunt's got the aggression, but Smolensky has some great defensive maneuvers right now. And hey, at this point, if I wanted to be passed or make a pass, I'd rather make a pass. You're on the back foot, you've got all the momentum, and Daniel Hunt's in that position if he can get a great run here across the main straight. We're going reverse as usual across the main Indy Oval straight, excuse me.
Yeah, of course, we'll see the guys in 10 days' time go the, some want to call it the correct way around, but go the original way around this racetrack, anti-clockwise, heading themselves, of course, at speeds of up to 236 miles an hour in towards turn one, and you won't miss it, because it'll be here live on Racesport TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. It is the 7th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500. It is my favourite, my biggest event of the year, and you won't miss it, because it'll be here on Racesport TV in just 10 days' time. Let's then go down your path, because Paul Smith strapping it out with Matthew Bunn right now, and what gap is 3 tenths per second. Smith, though, only up 3 places on this event, so he wants a little bit more from this event as it stands right now. But Matthew Bunn as well, good little run by him. He's moved himself up 3 places also.
Yeah, so Smith trying to make a pass on his friend, and the last thing you want to do is make contact, because it'd make for an awkward conversation after the event. There's a lot of time to go as you look at the clock, 16 minutes and 20 seconds. You know, a good story is 10 years ago, this is where my first ever sim race was around the Indy road layout. 100% distance race.
Oh.
Crashed with 12 laps to go.
Oh.
It's a sad day in the world of motorsports.
Well, I'll tell you what, Semensky versus Hunt, they are side by side right now, and Daniel Kraft is right behind them as they head themselves down towards turn one. Let's go. Let's look as they make contact. Oh, we've got a car into the wall. That's the number 3 machine. Oh, Semensky, that's pretty much his race over. You hit the wall at that speed in any car, your race is going to be over. But, well, Semensky there, that was a hard impact down into basically Indy turn one. And, well, oh, he's lost another position. He's down into P8 right now. And that, unfortunately, is pretty much going to be that number 3 machine stay done. Let's have a listen on board of him. Let's listen in. It's a little contact. Pushes up high into the grating. Yeah, definitely some front left side damage to that race car right now, John.
I think Hunt got onto the curb on the inside, a little bit of the grass, and that sent him up into Smolensky. So not Smolensky's fault at all. He could have actually, I think Smolensky kept onto the throttle. He thought maybe he could have maintained the speed in the corner, but I think he sort of miscalculated that a little bit. But definitely nothing of Smolensky's wrongdoing. He kept his line right, and right now let's see if that damage actually impedes his pace. It was a very high speed impact, and sometimes the light but high-speed impacts can cause for very, very huge damage.
Well, yeah, and let's not forget as well that you know, that corner has had so much controversy over the years as well. What, 2005, you know, the 6-car field, the Michelin incident, and of course, but many people forget as well, 2008, NASCAR, they had their own incidents at Indy as well, when the tyres were in the last 13 laps. So, you know, that final corner at Indy, well, turn number 1, of course, it is really the corner with so many stories to tell. Of course, on the exit of that corner, we had ourselves the famous spin and pass back in the 1980s, which possibly the greatest moment in all of IndyCar history ever. 4 guys though, scrapping it out. P4, P7, Gregory is on the rear of that train right now. We know that Gregory, when he smells blood, he can move forward very quickly.
Yeah, and it's as usual, as you mentioned. But as Kraft and Hunt, the 2 Daniels and the 2 Benjamins, we should have probably noted that too. It's a very nice sequence of names here. As Kraft is just hugging the line. This corner's really, it's a long radius, really takes a toll on the tires. Smolensky, by the way, enters the pit lane. So Alexander Smolensky drops down the field. He felt like he'd have to repair that car from some damage. Who knows? But he's definitely... I'm not sure why you'd pit. He probably should have just stayed out and toughed it out. But maybe he just couldn't drive that car. As Kraft right now is, or Hunt at least, is on the back foot. Gregory taps Haxon as well. Oh, this is some nice feisty battling as Gregory straight on the radio. Just race, Gregory. I always tell these guys, get off the radio, race hard. And that's what they're doing right now, and it's good to see.
Do the talking on the track and then fight it out afterwards, some would say. It's actually funny because you mentioned the thing earlier about passing at this racetrack. As you can see there, Kraft right on the rear of Hunt right now. One of the most famous quotes of all time is, if you no longer go for a gap, you're no longer a race car driver. But sometimes at this track, you always have to make your moment. So if you go for every single gap, you're never going to get past. Yeah. Being tactical here can be really important. Kraft looks to the outside in one, not able to get the pass complete there over Daniel Hunt. Gregory will stay in line as well. Behind, no real movement as Kraft then gets himself a slowdown penalty on the exit of turn number 1. Second look at that one coming up. That's disastrous for him. He's now 2 seconds behind this group.
Yeah, the slowdowns are very, very harsh, but that's the rules. I don't like them, but you can't complain. As I said, the rules are clear. If you cut the racetrack, you get your little penalty. But the good thing is now, if those 3 keep battling up front, and we always say this, they're going to be side by side with each other and alongside different straights, different corners. It might let himself, or might reel himself back into the battle here as Haxon and Gregory still fight it out. Over 10 minutes remaining, and you're not really looking at the clock as a driver at this stage. You start to really look at it under 10 minutes to go, and that's when you start to get desperate. That's the worst thing you can do is to start to get desperate and start to overplay. And it comes back to that Senna quote. You know, as much as I love Ayrton Senna, sometimes the rational way of driving is you don't go for every gap. If you can set up a great pass over 1 lap and just position the car well, it's better than just going for every gap and then making the pass after 7 laps, because every corner you get a terrible exit.
Well, yeah, and actually that's one of the things that the drivers of the Verizon IndyCar Series will need to learn as they head themselves to the oval. Because the thing, you go, and that's the thing, on this oval, even on these Kias as well, you try and flick to the high side and then flick back to the low side, you lose yourself 4 miles an hour. That 4 miles an hour is the difference between you being able to make a pass or not make a pass. And, you know, at these high speeds, it is very, very important. Danny and Pat, by the way, Peter Van Gool versus Andreas Citizens. That one's going on right now. And if I remember correctly, Citizens started P15, running P15. And look at this battle ahead of it with Robert Graham as well.
Yeah, this is not the best managed battle right now. A few of these guys could have taken some more aggressive lines. It seems everyone's missing the apex at the same time. All 4 drivers. Van Gool and Graham right now so close between each other, and that will be Van Gool on top. As Aldo Massa, very entertaining driver in this series. He's always made his way up through the field. I don't think he's been the best qualifier out there, but he did qualify 12th here today, so he has dropped a lot of positions in this event. He's trying to set up Graham here, and there could be 3 wide.
Let's say 2, shall we? Let's say 2, but that's mighty close there, actually, ahead of them. Graham and Massa, they're not giving an inch at all here.
Yeah, Massa right now. Is that Van Gool going off the racetrack? That could set up Graham for a move across the main straight. Van Gool, rightly so, takes the apex and takes the racing line, so that impedes Graham's exit, and that's important. He won't be able to get onto the throttle as early as Aldo Massa behind. But the advantage for him is that Massa is a couple of car lengths behind. Oh, and is that Graham backing off the throttle? Massa might pass 2 cars here. Oh, but he takes the worst line possible. He needed to go for the inside. Now they're going to be 3 wide on the main straight with 9 minutes and 17 seconds to go. And Massa might indeed make 2 positions in the space of a corner. Oh, so close between the 3.
Oh, and well, how did they survive that? How did they survive that, Johnny?
Oh my goodness gracious. I don't know how, but when you got a name like Massa, something's going well for you, right? You mean, you got some great toughness and just... I mean,
oh my
just
word.
how? I'm lost for words.
They did that yesterday. Oh, no, finally, we've had an incident. Number 15 car there. Massa turned around, but he carries on going again. Well, we had an incident a bit like this in the Nice Car Peak Annie-Free Series, of course, which was last night. Catch it on our YouTube page if you missed it. Oh, now he really gets turned around. That's a number 15 machine. That's his race probably done. And Andreas Sledzen's there also involved in that one. But Massa, he's like Oliver in that Top Gear video. He just wants to carry on going there, Johnny.
It's just, that was ridiculous right there. I think Massa gave Slezens a tap. Okay, it was pretty disrespectful, but Slezens just turned Massa around. I think he just felt like it was a great message from himself to Aldo Massa. I like the message though. As much as it's wrong to turn someone around, I think Massa giving him the tap. Now they all pit after that. It was a very good form of racing and very terrible at the same time.
It's WTCC style of racing, isn't it? You know, these guys are used to this. They'll use the chrome horn if they need to. Yes, of course, we'll talk about safety rating, but these guys, they know that occasionally the tempers will flare. They'll sort it out on the racetrack. This ain't a series where they'll go and, you know, moan and corral each other for hours on end. They'll sort it out here and then they'll move on to the next race. And well, we're looking at Jay Edgy there, still batting out a Paul Smith. It's now past the driver of Adji, but they continue to scrap. And Gregory behind Haxton as well. Haxton there, still 2 tenths per second, 3 tenths per second ahead of Benjamin Gregory. That DD car right now showing that, in this case, Indianapolis runs on Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, we give them a shout out every race. We should get paid for it sometime soon, so I'm not going to talk about it. David Baker in 3rd position is only 2 tenths behind Shellback right now on the main straight. This is a battle for P2 as Shellback goes defensive.
Yeah, let's have a look then. Shellback then versus Baker. Side by side. In towards one they come. And well, the winner of this one. Oh, lock up a big lock up there, Baker. Oh, you see you brake late. You've got to make sure that you can keep your car on track. And what Baker that time, he just didn't do so. And as a consequence, he's lost himself a second with 6 minutes to go, Johnny.
Yeah, and that's a common error that you shouldn't be making as a race car driver. Do not use the other driver as a brake marker. Always use your own brake markers, whether it's the marker on the wall, a little something in the stands that you might use, and that's where they both went wrong. Baker ended up worse. Shellback just made the corner, and now Baker's going to have to set up that move sometime soon. Is he going to get another chance? That's the question. The battle for the podium. Cheplevsky's pretty much got one hand on the trophy at this stage of the race. Shellback 2nd, Baker 3rd. But down the field as well, it seems that the gap from Kraft to Hefford, 7th to 8th, is 8 seconds. So that's all set and done. I think Paul Smith's going to finish in the top 10 too, as he's breaking away a little bit from Jay Adji. He was 1 second faster last lap around after making that pass. But yeah, so at this stage of the race, you can see a couple of drivers forming up as Gregory's very, very close to Haxton here.
Yeah, they are. So let's turn ourselves away from this one. And there is Benjamin versus Benjamin. The battle of the Benjamins. And there won't be any breaking Benjamin here today. As we see then in towards turn number 1. Nothing. Not yet. Because Haxton still has the draft to hunt. And that one is important in this battle.
Yeah. So he sweeps through turn 1. Hunt's taking a very poor line. It's so important, that first corner. This is the aggressive drivers racetrack. We always talk about different styles of racetrack. The drivers who like to throw cars into corner. They like a nice little front end that's not too tight. It's a little bit loose where you can steer into the corners. this is the perfect racetrack for those types of drivers. You know, you look at styles such as the old Lewis Hamilton style from 07, 08. Remember that, where he used to be so good around here, especially in those cars back then, where you could just throw them into corners. Traction control would really keep the car stable. So a great fun racetrack too. A lot of people don't like it, but it's a nice little racetrack. I quite enjoy it.
Yeah, IMS always has been, and of course they use a slightly different layout now for the Verizon IndyCar Series, a slightly different layout. Of course, also when MotoGP used to run here for the Red Bull Grand Prix of Indianapolis. Of course, we know the most famous layout of this racetrack, though, that of course hosts Indy 500 and also the Crown Royale insert honourable mention here 400, and of course it's a home to the NASCAR Peak and Free Series as well. So if you missed anything from that last race, catch it here on Racesport TV. 3 minutes 40 seconds on the play clock. This battle is still going on as the guys work themselves in towards turn number 1. Well, no real passes for position because Haxon there still ahead of Gregory. No! Yes! No! Haxon's still ahead of Gregory. I was right. It's okay. It's Heimsters. It's just ahead. They're still scrapping out 4 cars separated by nothing. Oh, look at that one, though. Gregory down to the inside of the DD car. That was a bold move in towards turn number 4. And he might actually... No, he had the inside line to the next corner. So this is going to be mighty close there. And Gregory might actually lose a position as a consequence. This is what Wednesday Night Kids is all about, though. Chrome horn time coming in. Gregory says, oi, get out of my way. I want the position. Let's head ourselves now down in towards complex. And, well, Gregory, if he breaks late, he has a chance here because he's almost a full car length ahead. But, Johnny, this is fantastic. We love this type of racing.
Yeah, through 9 and 10 now. Kraft is ultra aggressive. And I spoke about, as Kraft has to back off. He's forced off the racetrack there by a bit of uncertainty from Haxon. It was all clean, no contact made. I think Kraft was just being a little bit safe. You speak about aggression, and right there, Gregory was very aggressive. Notice, though, how Hunt last time around went defensive before Haxon even attempted a move. Now he's got that buffer, so if Gregory does close down on Daniel Hunt, he knows that the turn 1-2 complex is one of the worst corners on the racetrack for Daniel Hunt, as well as the fact that Haxon right now is very, very close to Gregory into that complex.
Yeah, but last time by, though, Johnny, they lost 1.5 seconds to Daniel Hunt. So actually that shows that, going side by side is cool for TV and everything. It's not good if you're trying to actually get yourself a podium.
Yeah, definitely not. As Baker and Shellback were side by side too. Sorry, Will, into that first corner. It was so close between the two. And battle for the podium, battle for P4 as well. So it's heating up at this stage of the race. Baker's, this is where he needs to be a little smarter, and he needs to really take advantage. This will probably be his last attempt to make a pass on Shellback.
Well, there's 1 minute 20 seconds remaining in this event before the play clock expires. Jaslewski there, you can see him. He will see the white flag this time by. We've not really talked much about this number 1 club UK and Ireland, our final tech machine, but hey, that's what he likes more than anything else. He heads himself then onto the banking for the penultimate time, and Johnny, white flag out this time by.
Yep, Jaslewski, nice win. He's probably, well, unless he has a Mika Hakkinen moment, he's probably going to win this race. Shellback and Baker behind, as Baker right now is going to be very close into the first corner complex. They were alongside each other last time around. Look at Shellback covering the whole racetrack.
Yeah, here they come then in towards turn number 1. There you can see his desperation time 6 machine round the outside. He's not going to make that apex ever. He might almost lose the position there if he ain't careful. But, well, we talk about like apexes. We talk about the likes of Jon and Lacey. Well, you couldn't make that corner if you were to be paid to do so there. And, well, that number 6 machine, unfortunately, now has no chance of getting himself a podium here today behind. The gaps, well, they're about static behind, but hey, you got yourself Matthew Bunn versus Gordon Anderson as they head themselves down the start-finish straight for the final time in this event. Nothing will happen there, really. Also got ourselves Adjet Smith scrapping it out. This is down a bit further down in your pack as well. We're talking about this one before. There you can see Adjet versus Smith. as well. Smith will move himself past, and he is where he is for the time being, but they are still pretty close on the final lap of this motor race. It's the E7 machine then versus the race department car. Out front though, Steven Chepleski. Let's go on board of him. We've not spent enough time on board of this car today. We've not spent enough time looking at this car. But hey, the number one machine will be number one as he heads himself into what is IndyCar Turn 1 for the final time. It sounds like he's out of fuel. He's just cruising. He's just playing with you. Chepleski wins here at Indianapolis. Shellback second, Baker third, Hunt in fourth, and Gregory rounds out your top five. So Gregory out of that lot really didn't benefit at all there, Johnny.
Yeah, in the end, only a fifth position, but he did start the race from 11th, so started outside the top 10, and he still managed to make his way up through the field ahead of his named compatriot, Benjamin Haxon. Daniel Kraft ended up 7th down the order, though. Hefford, Viverke, and Paul Smith end up in the top 10. Smith just defending from Agee in the end. Jay Agee will finish 11th, but that battle between Anderson and Matthew Bunn. Matthew Bunn was a little bit feisty, but he just couldn't make his way up past Gordon Anderson there, so Bunn will end up in the P13 position. And what a race as well. We saw a couple of incidents as Matthew Bunn gets flipped around. That'll be a trip to the hospital. Smolensky right now, he was one driver that suffered from a couple of incidents. Balfour, Cunniff, Massa. So it was a very entertaining race, Will. And bumping's racing, I like to say, but you shouldn't overdo it. And it was overdone a few times today. But hey, I'm not complaining. I liked it.
Oh, it was fun. As you can see there, Chepleski then wins out here at Indianapolis by 2.9 seconds over Michael Shellback. Baker in third, Hunt in fourth, then Gregory, Haxon, Kraft, Hefford, Verke, and Paul Smith. They are your top 10. We have got Paul Smith here. Hey, Paul. Indy seemed to be crazy. It was crazy for you. Talk us through your motor race.
Yeah, that was a really tough race. I didn't get the best start. I had to take avoided action at turn 2, so I was on the grass. Lost a bit of ground that way, but fought my way back, looked after my tyres, was able to hold off Jay at the end there, because he put me under so much pressure in those last 3 laps. I thought I'd pulled away from him, but credit to him.